Labor may have gained ground, but both Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott remain unpopular with voters. The latest Newspoll shows the ALP's primary vote has jumped 2% to 35%. Now that's on top of a 5% increase in the previous Newspoll.
But the coalition still leads Labor 53% to 47% of the two-party preferred vote. Now, on the question of who'd make a better Prime Minister, Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott are tied. Our political correspondent Melissa Clark joins us now from Parliament House. Melissa, good morning. Labor taking some heart from these figures.
Certainly, and they will be relieved that this is the second Newspoll in a row that shows something of a jump for the ALP. So what we've got in this Newspoll is the primary vote going up 2 percentage points from 33% to 35%, whilst the coalition's primary vote has stayed steady at 45%. But what this tells us is that with that previous Newspoll jump, which had gone from Labor's primary vote being at 28% up to 33%, that 5% jump wasn't entirely anomalous, because even if we take this result that's published today and say, well, maybe this one's out of whack, if it's at the very edge of the margin of error, then take it back 3 percentage points, it would be back at 30%, or from 35, it would be back at 32%. That's still a big jump from where they were down at that 28% mark. So it confirms that there is a move up in the Labor Party's primary vote, and that will certainly be of a big reassurance to the ALP that at least something is heading in the right direction at the moment.
Yeah, what do the rest of the figures tell us?
Well, they tell us that when it comes to a two-party preferred vote, the coalition still has a very big election-winning lead. There's been a one-point turnaround, so now that it's only 47% to the coalition's 53%, but that still gives the coalition a thumping win should those results be replicated at the next poll. And it also tells us that people are still dissatisfied with the two leaders. There's been only minor movements in the satisfaction and dissatisfaction ratings of both Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott. And when it comes to who would make a better Prime Minister, we've seen them come even Stevens. They're both at 38% in terms of the number of people polled who think one or the other would make a better Prime Minister, and those figures are quite low for both of them. So clearly the leader's still on the nose with the voting public, according to this Newspoll.
Now, looking at the period in question, why do you reckon Labor's primary vote has jumped so highly?
Well, there's a couple of factors here, so it would be hard to pin it down to just one thing. Certainly, Julia Gillard herself has nominated this period as one where she expected the Labor Party to start seeing an improvement. That is, after the introduction of the carbon tax. We've heard a lot about the Labor Party talking about the lived experience of the carbon tax, that people will see the sky hasn't fallen in, and that might make people reassess just how bad or not they think things are. So perhaps you could attribute it partly to that. There's also been a number of other elements in the last month or so that may have worked in Julia Gillard's favour. She has come out strongly when it comes to getting trials for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which has big public support, and pulling the states into line on that, which she did, certainly would help with perception of how she's going as a leader. And we also have to remember that in the last week we have had this rather bitter debate about asylum seekers. We've seen a big back down from the Labor Party, but nonetheless the impasse broken, and it seems the public is giving the ALP credit for that over this last fortnight. It's hard to see otherwise. It's been the dominant issue in the last week. The poll would have been taken over the weekend with this fresh in mind. So perhaps the public is happy to see that there's been some movement on such an intractable issue. No doubt a combination of all those factors.